Hey guys, welcome to Hook with Anime. If you like the video, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Let's begin. Chapter 3. An opportunity takes root. It was a sunny Thursday afternoon as Naruto was at the Akamichi Bar and Grill with his grandpa, Dan, as the Ultimatrix wielder was just ecstatic to be hanging out with his godfather after so long. I can't believe you actually retired, Grandpa, Naruto said whilst sitting across from the Jonin in question who was finishing his steak. Neither can I, Naruto. But even I have to admit that things are getting a bit too intense for me. Dan half-joked with his grandson. Hey, I won't argue about whatever crazy stuff is going on. Although, I just gotta know, what made you want to retire from being a badass super Jonin? I mean, out of everyone in the village other than Pervy Sage and Dad, you're the strongest guy in the village, Naruto asked. That would be a combination of two things, Naruto. The first and most important are my family. I mean, if I had to choose between them in the village, 9 times out of 10, I would die for them, before I ever go against them for the hidden leaf, Dan told his godson who inhaled a forkful of pulled pork. Of course. I mean, with people like Granny Tsunade, Masako, and Kenichi, then I'd feel the same way. I mean, hell, a village can always be rebuilt. But a family, that's something that only comes once in a lifetime. Naruto replied, knowing that a family, unlike a village, that once sundered was nigh impossible to restore. Exactly, I've come pretty close to death a number of times, as a Jonin of this village. I almost died and lost my chance to be with Tsunade and start a family, countless times during the Second and Third World Wars, so believe me when I say that, my time to hang up my headband and stay with my family has come. Dan said back with the weary tiredness of a war veteran. With Dan Kato knowing full well that from all the times he has narrowly escaped death in his decades-long career as a shinobi, his time in the spotlight was coming to an end. Therefore, he knew that his best option at this moment in time was to step away and let the next batch of soldiers to bear the headband of the hidden leaf, for he knew that if he were to continue to push his luck, there wouldn't be a next time for him to come back. I mean, let's be real with each other, Naruto. I probably evaded death more times than I can count. So to push my luck in the field, and widow my wife, my niece, and most of all, my children, would be a mistake that would haunt me beyond the afterlife itself, Dan added. Can't really blame you, Gramps. I mean, you've done more missions for the village than I can probably count. That's why if anyone deserves to call it quits, it's you. Naruto spoke, gaining a smile from the powder blue-haired man. Thank you for acknowledging that. It means a lot to hear that. From the young man who is like one my own, Dan replied. Same to the man who I'm happy to call my super awesome grandpa, Naruto said back as he and Dan continued to eat their food. By the way, what are you gonna do now that you've retired? I mean, a badass uber ninja like yourself has gotta have something in his back pocket, Naruto asked. To be honest, I haven't figured that out quite yet, Dan answered back, surprising Naruto. Really? I figured that you would have had something figured out. I mean, you the man with a plan, who's punked out death more times than anyone can count, so I gotta say, I'm shocked that the ghost of Konoha doesn't have a plan up his sleeve for bowing out, Naruto said, getting an exasperated sigh from the older man. I swear I can't stand that nickname. It's, what's the word I'm thinking of? Dan replied. Cringy, gaudy, over the top. Naruto listed off. All of the above. Dan said back in a deadpan, to be fair, Grandpa, you do make a whole set of techniques that turns you into a walking talking ghost man, so I'm pretty sure you brought this on yourself, Naruto told the elder of the two. In my defense, I just wanted to make a technique that would help end battles quickly. I didn't think it would end in such a god-awful nickname, Dan said whilst pinching the bridge of his nose. Well, it's thanks to that technique that you're still around to live the good life with Granny, Naruto replied, as the expression on his godfather's face turned to a more joyous one at that. Now, that is one of the few things that I'm proud of this technique for, Dan said with an earnest smile. That's what I like to hear, Naruto replied, meeting Dan's smile with one of his own. So other than that, what's the other thing that had you wanting to retire? Naruto questioned. That is less complicated to explain. To put it simply, with everything I've done in service of Konoha, I honestly feel as though I have nothing left to prove, Dan answered back. With my renown and fame, or infamy if you ask our enemies, having reached if not matched that of Tsunade and Jiraiya's own. So because of that, in combination with my first reason, is why I've decided to retire. Dan told his godson with a simple shrug of his shoulders. Makes sense to me. I mean, I can't really think of anything else that you'd have to prove. I mean, you've just about damn near done everything that someone like you could. Other than being Hokage, and having that be sage mode that pervy sage and dad have. I'd say you've accomplished everything that life could offer. Naruto replied. Indeed I have. Now I can finally relax, knowing I've done everything I could for the village and my family. Dan said with his smile widening slightly at this fact. Yup. So here's to my badass grandpa, finally going into retirement. Long may he reign. Naruto exclaimed as Dan could only smile at the hardly contained, yet boundless energy and joy the blonde seemed to have. I swear my godson is truly something else, Dan said to himself as he looked on at Naruto. From there he and Naruto continued to enjoy their lunch with one another, and shared in the good cheer in celebration of Dan retiring from active service to the Hidden Leaf. With it being after another near hour of sharing in each other's company, that they eventually left the bar and grill. Yet it was after Naruto was a good distance away from the bar and grill, that he was approached by an Ambu operative, and not just an ordinary one, but a root agent at that. With said agent having come to deliver a personal message from Danzo himself, that he wanted to speak with Naruto tomorrow about a possible induction into their ranks, and that should he choose to accept this invitation to speak with the Warhawk, that he would be escorted to the premises of their headquarters to speak with him at 9:30 sharp. The Ultimatrix wielder being too intrigued by what this could bring to him, and the thought that Danzo Shimura of all people wanted him to join Root had him too interested to reject this offer, and as such he accepted it, and with that the masked operative disappeared, leaving a very intrigued Naruto standing with one thought in mind. Looks like things just keep getting more interesting for me, Naruto said before continuing his walk home in good spirits. The next morning, 9:30 am, Root HQ, June 24, 996 SE. It was the following morning as Naruto had been led to the headquarters of the Root organization, where he was soon escorted to the Warhawk's office, where he sat with all the imposing force of will that one of his experience and station could command. Thank you for escorting young Naruto to the premises. That will be all, Danzo said to the Root operative beside Naruto. As you wish, Lord Danzo, the Root operative said before walking away. Now then, take a seat. We have quite a few things to discuss, Danzo told the Ultimatrix wielder. Alright, Naruto responded before he took a seat before the Warhawk. So let's get to it, and skip past the small talk. I know you called me here to possibly join up with your outfit. The only thing I don't get is why. I mean, if it were Naoya or Hayes that you were calling here, then I would understand. Naruto questioned the Warhawk. Straight to the point. Good to see that you appreciate a more direct approach. The reason why I want you to join is that I know of what you can do, Danzo answered back, causing Naruto to raise a semi-confused brow at this. I'm gonna need you to elaborate because I'm still not following, Naruto requested. Let me rephrase my statement. I know of what you can transform into, young man. The roots of the Hidden Leaf are vast and far-reaching. Did you really think that you could keep secret your ability to transform into these aliens as you call them? Danzo said, causing Naruto's placid expression to turn into one of utter shock and slight fear. Does anyone else know about my aliens? Naruto questioned with a nervous gulp. No other than myself, and my most trusted operatives. There is no one else that knows of your ability to transform into these creatures. Not the fourth Hokage, your mother, nor that blithering lecher of Asani knows. I have had my agents make sure that they have been kept in the dark about your unique abilities, for now, Danzo informed the blonde teen. That's a massive relief. Moving out without their know-how is one thing, but telling them I can transform into a dozen aliens is another. Naruto mentally sighed in relief. And I will keep it that way for you. I will not have someone with abilities such as yours be wasted in mediocrity, when they can be expanded upon in my organization. Danzo spoke. Which brings it back to the whole if I should join you, Naruto replied. Correct. Granted, I cannot force you to join me. I am many things, but not enough to anger your godparents in the Uchiha clan if I coerced you into doing so. Therefore, the choice is ultimately up to you," Danzo said, knowing the full weight of what could happen if he forced the blonde into his ranks. "I am a man of many things, but I am not a foolish nor arrogant one," Danzo added, his piercing gaze still trained onto Naruto. "Considering that you were the guy who's a big part of the reason we aren't in ruins." "I would imagine so," Naruto said before drumming his hands on the table. "That being said, what can you bring to the table if I join you?" Naruto asked. "I can offer many amenities to you. However, I will keep it brief and tell you of the most important ones that I can offer to you," Danzo said back. "Alright, hit me with them. I'm all ears." Naruto spoke, keen to see what Danzo had to offer him. "Let me start with the fact that we can offer you the resources and training facilities needed to hone the abilities of your transformations. After all, I'm sure that what I have at my disposal is far more suitable than training in the woods," Danzo replied. "I ain't gonna lie, that would help me out a lot, since your boy is tired of having myself and Sasuke watch our backs when we train with my aliens," Naruto said. "Furthermore, this would mean you would no longer have to worry about Minato nor Kushina growing curious about your whereabouts, even with their duties to the village, in conjunction with their training your siblings. Your training with your transformations will cause suspicion to eventually and no doubt quickly arise. From there it will only be a matter of time before these suspicions cause your parents to send Anbu and summons alike to investigate. From there I'm sure you can fill in the blanks," Danzo told Naruto. "I can, and I don't like how it goes for me in the end," Naruto replied, knowing full well the shitshow that had happened when just his father alone found out. "Indeed, moving on, we can more than work around your academy schedule, in regards to your training and taking on assignments. Such things are child's play compared to what I deal with normally," Danzo said. "Alright, and I'm all for that. But what about when I eventually become a genin? Since I'm gonna have a whole ass sensei and people I'm with, and they're gonna get suspicious if I just up and leave," Naruto questioned the Warhawk. "Don't worry about that. I already have my operatives preparing for such a thing, when that arises," Danzo coolly answered back. "I will definitely take your word for it. I just hope you're gonna send me on some kick-ass missions," Naruto replied as a small smirk graced the Warhawk's features. "Don't worry. I am certain that I can find missions to suit your talents," Danzo told the blonde. "Fine by me, as long as I get to do cool stuff on missions," Naruto said, more so happy to go on dope-ass missions. "Lastly, I can make sure that you are properly compensated as a root operative," Danzo spoke, further gaining the Ultimatrix wielder's attention. "For all of the hard work you will be doing as an operative, should you accept, I will make sure you are properly compensated. From it being monetary, to resources needed to upkeep your housing situation, as well as gear that you possess. That and more will come to you, should you decide to join," Danzo added as the blonde had a rather thoughtful look. "While this is all good and well, there is one small thing that I want done, and this is non-negotiable," Naruto told the Warhawk, who was keen to hear what the blonde had to say. "I am all ears. What is it that you want done?" Danzo questioned. "I want Sasuke Uchiha to join in my training with my aliens and just combat training in general," Naruto answered back. "I've heard of young Sasuke being rather talented, from what my men have told me, in addition to the two of you being rather close," Danzo noted. "Yeah, Sasuke is my boy. He's pretty much like the brother I wish I had," Naruto replied before continuing. "But he has been the only person besides yourself that knows about my transformations. More importantly, he's the only person I trust to keep my secret, on top of him helping me with them. That's why I want him to be part of this with me. He is the one person I know that can have my back when it comes to this, and in a scrap," Naruto added, as he would not do this without someone who was more or less his brother, in all but blood. "Is he truly that important to you?" Danzo asked with a scrutinizing gaze. "Yes. We come as a package deal. So if you want me and my aliens, then Sasuke is along for the ride as well. I'm not gonna let my brother fall behind me, when I can share in my come up with him," Naruto answered back with an unwavering amount of resolve in his statement. "If that is the case, then so be it. Who am I to deny fresh talent being added to our ranks? Even more so when it is the brother of Itachi himself," Who is being spoken for? Danzo replied, as who was he to deny promising recruits to his organization? Well, if that's that, then you can consider me as part of Root, Naruto said back. Excellent. With that being said, you will have to engage in a two-part assessment. One for us to gauge your skill set, without your aliens. Another to gauge what you are capable of, when you are using your aliens. Danzo informed the teenage blonde. Fine by me. Just tell me when and where I have to show up. Naruto replied, all too ready to get things started. The first one will be conducted this coming Sunday. Following that, the second one will be conducted on the following Saturday. You will be escorted to both locations by an operative at 9 in the morning, and no later than. Danzo told him. I got it, crystal clear. Naruto replied, good. Now then, one of my operatives will be outside to escort you back to your home. Danzo said back. Gotcha, and trust me, I'm not gonna disappoint at all. Naruto swore to the elder statesman of an ex-shinobi. I would hope not. Until then, you are dismissed. Danzo replied as Naruto soon left his office. 2 days to get things started, that should be more than enough. Naruto remarked to himself. 2 days later, Konoha, June 26, 996 SE, 9 o'clock am. It was soon the day at hand as Naruto was at one of the various training grounds in the village that Danzo had set up for his assessment, with the person doing so being someone he very much least expected to be part of it. Wait a minute. Amy? You're gonna be doing my assessment? Naruto questioned as he saw the black-haired, gray-eyed granddaughter of Danzo looking back at him. Yes. My grandfather decided that I would be the best suited to see what you're capable of. I had nothing else to do today, so I figured why not help him out. Amy answered back, straightening out her armor. Fair point. So are we gonna get started now, or in a couple of minutes? Because, if we're gonna do this then I wanna get this started right now. Naruto asked as he got into his fighting stance. We can get started now. We are here to see how strong you are, not posture at each other. Amy replied while getting into a stance of her own. With that, Naruto Bull rushed after the Warhawk's granddaughter, ready to elbow slam her into the ground, only for her to counter with a surprisingly powerful teep kick to the larger Mon's liver that staggered him, before running up to deliver a knee bomb to his face. The Ultimatrix wielder in question withstanding the attack and countering with a vicious headbutt that had her almost see double for a brief moment, before rushing in to tackle her into the dirt, but this was soundly put to a screeching halt when she unleashed a spinning hook kick to the temple that was followed by an elbow to the ribs. However, Naruto, not one to go down quickly, had rallied from the attack and retaliated in full effect with a chopping right to her sternum that was parried and met with knee to his stomach, yet Naruto quickly retaliated with a thunderous overhand right that thudded against her skull. Both combatants stood back a small distance to readjust themselves before both came rushing after each other, with Naruto bounding after Amy, and Amy dashing after him like a cheetah, the two meeting in the middle to engage in a ferocious exchange of attacks. Both parties exchanged everything from kicks, elbows, knees, and punches against one another that were either blocked and viciously retaliated against in Naruto's case, or parried and swiftly countered by Amy, with neither one giving an inch to the other as they fought at a ferocious pace, with Naruto unleashing heavy overhand rights, uppercuts, hooks and side kicks to Amy, who even when parrying them had felt their crushing force behind each attack, whilst Amy was able to use her greater speed to unleash a far greater number of kicks, knees, and elbows against the larger blonde. The larger blonde growing tired of not landing any worthwhile strikes on the Warhawk's granddaughter, Naruto went into feint for a double-leg takedown that Amy was able to sidestep out of the way from, but was a setup for him to deliver a brutal uppercut to the jaw that sent her tumbling across the ground, with Amy having to quickly backflip out of the way from Naruto attempting to jump down and stomp her back in half, with the root operative then attempting a low kick to knock Naruto to the ground, yet this was narrowly evaded thanks to him having leapt back at the last minute. Amy quickly jumped up to her feet and dashed after Naruto, once more bounded after her to unload a short yet thunderous combination of hooks and thudding jabs that, while the majority of them were deflected, the small handful that did make it through made her bones nearly creak and her head snap back from the sheer force. Yet Amy was quick to come back with a 360 reverse roundhouse kick that was followed by an axe kick to the top of Naruto's skull that nearly made him bowl over, However, the two combatants clashed once more as they caught each other with a right hook to the ribs from the larger blonde, and an elbow uppercut from Amy. Finally, someone other than Sasuke who can keep up, Naruto remarked to himself. Who would have thought that Lord 4Th's eldest wouldn't suck at taijutsu? Amy said to herself as the two re-engaged with one another. The both of them engaged in another ferocious exchange of blows, that had every shot fired off with the intensity of two timberwolves trying to rip each other to bloody shreds, as both were refusing to give either an inch. With Naruto using his larger frame and greater raw strength to get Amy into a clinch and nail with a series of brutal right hooks and uppercuts to the ribs that cracked against her so hard, they sounded almost like cannon fire. This continued briefly before Amy managed to get enough distance between them within the clinch to drive her knee as hard as she could into Naruto's liver, causing him to break off the clinch and back away whilst clutching at his stomach. With the Warhawk's granddaughter then pumping wind chakra into her legs for an incredible burst of speed to deliver a barrage of incredibly kick bicycle kicks to Naruto's jaw, that was ended off by a hook kick to his jaw, that the Ultimatrix wielder met with a chopping right to her nose. It was all throughout their fight that Amy found herself having to give credit where it was due, in terms of Naruto being incredibly proficient in taijutsu. Considering that beyond his raw strength alone, he was able to constantly cut off angles for her to get distance away from him and force her into fighting him in the pocket. Which combined with the dogged pressure he attacked her with from thunderous punches that staggered her, powerful kicks and knees to the body, alongside the vicious counterpunches he'd deliver with lethal intentions, had her give it up to the fact that he was nothing if not devastating in close range. Yet her thoughts were broken up as her attempt to land a spinning elbow to his temple was blocked and met with an overhand right that smashed into her nose, causing her to nearly fall flat on her ass at her newly bloodied nose. Something Naruto took full advantage of as he leapt after and speared her into the ground, where the Ultimatrix wielder quickly secured the mount on top of her, and began to rain down punches on her head with the cadence of a herd of stampeding elephants. Amy was subsequently forced to shell up from the constant onslaught of punches that rained down on her, in order to prevent her face from being caved in. So in response to this, Naruto punched her in her arms so hard that the root operative nearly yelped from a bone in her arm cracking, allowing for Naruto to quickly pin it to her side and continue landing heavy power shots to her face, with Naruto continuing to pummel her with ferocious abandon until she managed to expel a considerable amount of wind chakra to blast him off of her. The granddaughter of Danzo quickly managed to rise to her feet, albeit bloodied and battered from the vicious ground and pound. However, Naruto was quick to bound after her and engage in another heated brawl that had Amy, due to her damaged arm, on the defensive as Naruto, despite the numerous welts on his body, continued at his relentless pace, with the Ultimatrix wielder going at it with the fervor of a horny Jiraiya on the hunt for inspiration for his next Icha book, which was felt as he landed a short combination against Ami's abdomen that felt like sledgehammers being bashed into her gut with each blow. I'll give him credit where it's due, he's definitely passed with flying colors, Amy noted to herself as she ducked under a right hook. Now all I have to do is, Amy said before she had to dodge another hook to her head. With Amy, despite her wounded arm and battered state, managed to still put on a remarkable counter-defensive against Naruto's relentless cadence, with every punch and kick to her body being met with an equally swift elbow from her good arm, or a kick or knee to the chest and head. Yet even with all of the swift and blazingly quick counterattacks she unleashed against Naruto, the blonde before her refused to even waver under her assault, in part to a combination of his incredible durability and sheer force of will, evident when she unleashed a powerful hook kick to his temple so hard that it nearly knocked him over. Yet once again he steadied himself and retaliated with a gut-busting uppercut that she quickly dodged out of the way from and met with a high knee to his sternum. The two stared each other down at the intensive fight that had both of them bruised, semi-bloodied and battered, as Naruto, who was rarely the one to play in passivity, went yet again after Amy, in having gone for another takedown attempt via tackling her like a runaway freight train. In response, Amy nailed him with a powerful front kick to the jaw that nearly snapped his head back, as though he'd been cracked across the face like a razor wire-covered bullwhip, causing blood to leak forth from his split-open lip, with her following through with a short series of side kicks to the chest before unleashing a savage elbow uppercut to the side of his jaw, So in response, once Naruto recovered his wits about himself after a knee to his stomach, retaliated with a monstrous shovel hook to the ribs. The blow lifted her off the ground and into the air, as she felt almost all of the air in her lungs pushed out of her body before Naruto grabbed her by the legs, then wrenched her back down and sent her skidding several feet across the ground with a left hook to the jaw. That knocked out a few of her wisdom teeth. Amy quickly rose up after the attack to see Naruto ready to attack once more, and was preparing to charge after her once more, if not for the fact that an audible rumbling could be heard coming from the Ultimatrix wielder. "Hey, can we call it here? I mean, not to sound unprofessional or anything, but I totally forgot to eat breakfast," Naruto asked as his stomach rumbled in need for sustenance that it was denied. "That is more than fair. After the performance you put on, I would say that you have passed with flying colors," Amy said back as she wiped her bloody nose and mouth. "That's awesome. Glad I could impress," Naruto replied. "No problem. Also, you punch extremely hard," Amy remarked as she almost felt like her jaw was gonna come off with some of those punches. "Well, I may not be able to throw my punches in bunches. However, I can throw them hard enough to rock your shit," Naruto said with pride at his raw strength lending itself to his great amount of striking power. "Anyways, well done, and good luck with the next part of your assessment," Amy replied before she disappeared in a body flicker. "Well, that was one hell of a fight, man. I'm hungry as hell. I wonder if I can get some pancakes or something," Naruto wondered to himself as headed off in search of food. 3 days later, June 29, 996 SE, Naruto's house, 154 petameters. It was a few days later as Naruto and Sasuke were hanging out at the former's house, where the Ultimatrix wielder was informing the Uchiha of the fact that soon enough they'd be a part of something awesome en route. "So how about it, Sasuke? You down for being a part of something kick-ass and awesome?" Naruto asked his longtime friend. "If this can guarantee us both getting stronger, on top of helping you master your transformations, then I see no harm in joining," Sasuke answered back. "Not to mention, we both get to fast-track our way towards being stronger than our siblings," Naruto added with a large smile. "There is that as well. To be honest with you, I just want to get strong enough so that I force Itachi to do right by his unborn children," Sasuke said with a naked amount of venom in his voice. Even now he still fails to make his family with Izumi his primary precedent. Regardless of his station within the village, his family should be his first and primary priority, not his constant need to be our village's lapdog. Sasuke further spoke in disdain of Itachi's prioritizing the village over his clan and soon-to-be family. "Well, you definitely got a long ways to go. Itachi is one of the strongest Uchiha in the village, for a reason. So good luck," Naruto remarked at Itachi's prowess. "I do not need luck, all I need is time and training," Sasuke replied with steel and certainty to his voice that almost made Naruto's back stiffen. "Man, Sasuke gets scary when he talks about his family," Naruto noted as he saw Sasuke's eyes briefly turn the trademark bloodshine red of the Sharingan. "Hopefully, he can get his act together before you two have to slug it out. Maybe he'll come around by the time his kid gets here," Naruto said with hope. "I can only hope so as well. While I do not want to fight him, if it means getting him to act better, then so be it," Sasuke replied. "I'm pretty sure that Izumi will beat you to it. She may love Itachi, but even she has her limits. So if anyone can get your brother to act better and fly straight, then it's gonna be her," Naruto remarked. The Ultimatrix wielder had a strong feeling that Izumi's patience with Itachi would only go so far before it came to a head, considering that when you're raising a child by yourself while your significant other was always at work, it tended to put a large strain on things. I mean, just think about it. Do you really think that she's going to let him be on missions like he is, without something giving in the process? Naruto asked. That is a fair point. Knowing Izumi, I give it until the end of the year at the very latest. Once that happens, Itachi is going to be in for a reckoning. Sasuke said back in knowing that it was going to be a matter of if and not when for his brother. Exactly, so for now, let's just chill and let things with them sort themselves out. Naruto spoke. Fair enough. Other than my issues with Itachi, when and what will you be doing during the second stage of this assessment of yours? Sasuke asked after taking a brief moment to recollect his thoughts. I have until Sunday to be ready for what's getting thrown at me, Naruto answered back. But, in terms of what I'm gonna be doing, I'm gonna be taking out some idiots from the hidden waterfall. Apparently, they've been getting too big for their britches with this hero water they have. So for my test, I gotta take out a group of Chunin and Jonin that are headed back from a mission. Naruto informed the Uchiha of what he was up against. Are you sure you handle that? Even with your transformations, that is going to be a formidable threat to face, Sasuke noted. Oh, I know, Sasuke. In fact, I'm fully prepared for the challenge ahead of me, because I'm not about to get caught lacking out here. Not when everyone's an enemy, who can beat my ass if I'm not careful. Naruto replied with a fully confident smile that he could pull off his assessment with flying colors. That would be an understatement. Between what was the seven swordsmen of the mist, Darui of the storm style, and even Orochimaru himself, there are a legion of powerful threats out there. That isn't even taking into account what is out there, Sasuke said in reference to both what was outside the village and what was in the stars beyond their home. Believe me, I'm well aware of aliens that are gonna come to fuck our home up. That's why, I'm hoping Lord Danzo and I can work something out. Because I want us to be ready for any and everything, Naruto replied. Hopefully the time for extraterrestrial threats comes far, far into the future. I don't know about you, but I would rather not put our safety in the hands of Heiase and Naoya, Sasuke said with the blonde shapeshifter nodding in agreement. The only thing those two would get us, is our butts handed to us by aliens. All it takes is them getting backed into a corner, and before we know it, they're hulking out with 9 tails power in no time. Which means we're doubly fucked on both ends. Naruto responded in knowing how quickly things would go from sugar to shit with those two. I swear those two are more of a liability than they're worth, Naruto said in distrust of his siblings should shit go down. Then you should hope that we will not be partnered with them on a joint mission. Otherwise, the worst will come to pass, and it will be downhill from there, Sasuke replied. Believe me, if my father has his way about it, he'll try every which way he can to have my future Genin team be up close and personal with them. To be honest, I won't doubt it if the first time we get our big important mission, we're stuck with the twins, Naruto said back in knowing that if the Uzumaki Dream Team couldn't happen, then Minato and Kushina would push for the next best thing. Perhaps, Lord Danzo will intercede in that instance. He does possess a large amount of pull in the village, Sasuke brought up. I'd hope so. The man does have a whole lot of clout in the village, from being a hell of a shinobi in his day. However, even he has his limits, and at the end of the day, my dad is still the Hokage, so he does have the final say at the end of it, Naruto replied while also acknowledging the elephant in the room. With said elephant being that even with all of the political and social power that the Warhawk had amassed over the decades, that is acting Hokage, his father still had the final say in how things would go in the village and in concerns to the missions that shinobi in it undertook. Hence why if Minato really desired it, then at the end of the day Naruto and his Genin team would be forced to go on a mission with the twins and whoever the poor schmuck was that with them on a mission, even if it was something that would spell certain doom in the long run. Do you really think he would do that? Even Lord Fourth wouldn't be that blind to those walking time bombs, Sasuke asked. Don't get me wrong, Sasuke. My father is a brilliant man, and someone who more than earned the Hokage hat. However, he's also someone who has the habit of looking at his family through rose-tinted glasses. So to him, it'll seem like it's no big deal to have them join us on a mission, Naruto answered back. In that case, let us hope our rise through the ranks comes swiftly. That way, we can have an excuse to not be with them on a mission, Sasuke said. Now you're talking. A lot of doors open up once you have a flak jacket on, Naruto replied as he looked down at his Ultimatrix. I just hope that they'll lead to me living my best life, Naruto added in briefly envisioning the missions of epic proportion he'd soon go on. I'm sure they will. In the meantime, focus on that assessment of yours. It is going to come faster than you know, Sasuke told the blonde before him. Thanks for reminding me to stay on target. This also reminds me, I have to figure out how I'm gonna do this. I've got 3 days, and time like that goes very fast. Naruto thanked the Uchiha for the reminder. Not a problem at all, Naruto. Just come back in one piece, Sasuke said as he rose from his seat. Don't worry, Sasuke. I've got this all under control. Naruto replied as Sasuke gave him a small smirk back. You had better, were Sasuke's parting words before exiting Naruto's home. A squad of badass ninja from the hidden waterfall to use as target practice. This is gonna be one heck of a Sunday, Naruto remarked to himself with a grin at what was to come. Chapter 4. Assessing my aliens. It was barely 8 in the morning as Naruto alongside Torun were at the campsite where the Takigakure shinobi were finishing packing up at, with Naruto currently selecting which alien he would use to get it started. You will have approximately 30 minutes to dispose of the targets. Good luck, Naruto, Torun said to the Ultimatrix wielder. Thanks, but I'm pretty sure I've got this covered, Naruto replied as he transformed into Reverb. I hope you're ready, because I'm gonna about to rock this joint, Reverb said before rushing off for somewhere to hide. With him quickly making a small horde of clones that he had quickly surrounded the perimeter of the encampment that was packing up their gear, when all of them had finished fanning out to cover the full expanse of it. That was when they began their attack. Meanwhile, the Takigakure ninja were chatting amongst themselves and talking over the success of their mission while they were packing everything up. They were soon assaulted by the ultrasonic screams that blasted the area with such force the ground cracked and blew apart around them. The Takigakure ninja had to cover their ears against the harsh sonic attack and quickly seek safety elsewhere as they felt their insides become shredded by the powerful sound waves, and their blood vessels burst like overripened watermelons dropped from a high-rise, with the Jonin managing to escape the radius of the field of sound waves that blew apart their equipment within their campsite. While the Chunin and lesser Jonin found themselves ultimately succumbing to the sound waves, as their blood vessels ruptured and their innards soon popped like overfilled water balloons from the concussive force of the attack. While the concussed, bloodied and deafened Jonin made for a quick escape with their medics in tow and following close behind. Reverb in the meanwhile was quickly reassembling his clones back into himself, before he transformed into Mantabomber, flapped his wings to soar into the skies above to give chase to his quarry. Something that didn't take the aerophibian too long to locate them given his immense flight speed, as he saw them hole up trying to recuperate from the sneak attack. Whilst their medics were busy at work to heal their injuries and restore their hearing. Unfortunately for them, Mantabomber had other plans, as he leveled a Nura shock blast at one of the medical ninja, who were so caught up in healing the wounded Jonin that they didn't have time to register the basketball-sized hole that was blown through their chest. With another Nura shock blast coming in to swiftly and literally disarm another Jonin, before a follow-through blast decapitated said Jonin. The surviving Jonin and medic ninja watching on in shock and horror at the swiftness with which their comrades were dispatched. So to avoid being cut down any further they quickly dashed into the tree line ahead of them, in hopes of using it as cover against the unknown assailant. Unfortunately for them, their assailant was far faster than them, on top of having an aerial advantage that he used to pick them out amongst the thick foliage and cut them down with the ease a tiger would bite through a deer's skull. With their attempts to hide or even counter the attacks from Mantabomber proving more futile than anything, considering that with his far superior speed he could easily evade and outmaneuver their ranged jutsu, and all the while being able to freely and swiftly retaliate with a rapid-fire barrage Nura shock blasts. The situation was made all the worse by the fact that due to the relentless pressure of Mantabomber's aerial assault, the Takigakure ninja were forced into a retreat where they couldn't even get to their hero's water or risk getting dismembered or having a hole blow through their chests and skulls. The aerophibians' barrage of attacks was so intense that they had to hide underneath a large grouping of trees, and use earth jutsu to provide further cover and defense to shield themselves so as to have some means of respite against the continuous onslaught. Yet after nearly 2 consecutive minutes of Mantabomber firing at them, and seeing that he was getting nowhere as he couldn't quite get a decisive attack against them, on top of the fact that his time was running out, he decided to see how good these Jonin were against some real firepower as he started charging power to his next Nura shock blast against them, which grew larger and more compact by the second to the point the space around him became tinted in brilliant neon green. Let's see them dodge this, Mantabomber said as the Nura shock blast began to arc with spiraling tendrils of energy. Finally, it's over. I think we finally outran whatever the fuck that thing was, a blue-haired Taki Jonin said, relieved to see the barrage had stopped. I don't think it's close to being over, another Jonin said as he looked up to see a brilliant green light in the sky. So, I think now would be a good idea to use the hero water we still have left. Otherwise, we're gonna be dead men walking. The same Jonin spoke, as while the attack in question didn't have any chakra, they could still see it packed a lot of power. You heard the man, unless the lot of you want to die. Drink up and prepare for the worst. The lead Jonin spoke, his gray eyes looking up at the ever-expanding bright green light. Let's see them stop this, Mantabomber said to himself with a devious grin. Within not even half-second passing before a beam of searing green radiance escaped from his eyes and tail, and raced towards the group of Takigakure shinobi at incredible speeds, leaving very little time for those that consumed the hero water to erect a 4.5-story tall and 12-foot thick barrier of water and surrounded by hardened stone and earth nearly as tall. Once Mantabomber's attack connected against the barrier, everything in a 400-foot radius erupted into brilliant green light that voracious obliterated anything within its reach into complete obliteration. Granted, the attack barely lasted a minute, yet the damage it dealt to its surroundings was incredibly evident, as anything in the detonation zone barring the Takigakure ninja was reduced to smoldering rubble. With not even so much as the twigs and insects that would litter the ground survived. Yet in the midst of it were the shinobi in question, half of whom were turned into partially charred skeletons in the blast, whilst the rest sustained considerable burns and were panting like dogs from the fact that keeping up the barrier for so long against said attack had exhausted a rather hefty portion of their chakra reserves. Mantabomber, in seeing this, decided to dive down at hypersonic speeds for a strafing run, in delivering a blindingly quick series of neuroshock blasts that reduced their surviving medic ninja into Swiss cheese, with her body being blasted apart to the point where it was a bloody, unrecognizable lump of flesh and bones. The two Jonin, on the other hand, met similar fates, with one who tried to dodge out of the way having their legs blown to smithereens, while his compatriot had his head blasted into a cauterized stump. With neither of them noticing Mantabomber flying again to finish the job at even higher speeds, as he used a particularly powerful neuroshock blast through the heart of a blonde-haired, gray-eyed Jonin who skidded across the ground from the sheer force behind it. All before delivering another neuroshock blast that blasted the dismembered Jonin's head to smithereens, leaving only the leader of the small squad of Takigakure shinobi were left, his eyes darting frantically for any sign of Mantabomber's presence. Time to finish this. The last thing I need is for this fucker to start getting wise and making counters, Mantabomber said to himself. The aerophibian flew high into the air and proceeded to dive down once more at high hypersonic speeds, before turning into Painwheel and coming towards the remaining Takigakure shinobi at such speeds that he might as well have been a near imperceivable blue and black blur, with not even a microsecond later before Painwheel made contact, and reduced the poor soul into such a bloody mess that the air was misted crimson from the pulverizing of the last Takigakure shinobi. Once the blood-covered Ultimatrix wielder stopped his path of destruction, he immediately turned back into Mantabomber to fly back to Torun, who, after informing him of the decimation of the targets, had done so all in 5 minutes and 27 seconds, having set a new record for the quickest assessment time to date. So with that ego booster done and out of the way, Torun and Mantabomber flew back to Konoha in good spirits of the latter's accomplishment, and the fact that this would no doubt put him firmly within Root's ranks. 3 days later, July 5, 996 SE, Naruto's house, 1:45 p.m. It was a few days after Naruto passed the assessment with flying colors, did he invite Sasuke and a somewhat bandaged-up Amy to his house to celebrate the occasion, although the Ultimatrix wielder was in a good mood for a separate reason of his own. Congratulations, Naruto. Now you and your friend here are part of one of the greatest organizations within the Hidden Leaf, Amy said whilst a drone bought them glasses and a pitcher of lemonade. I told you that I'd pass your guys' tests without a problem. I mean, was there really any doubt that I could? Naruto asked with a broad smile on his face. Don't get ahead of yourself, Uzumaki. You may have passed the test that Grandpa set up for you, but when you get put on an actual do-or-die mission, things will be far, far different, Amy replied. She does bring up a good point. I mean, even with your aliens, there's still a lot of enemy shinobi that you are going to deal with. So don't get a big head. Sasuke spoke to the Ultimatrix wielder. The very last thing I need is for you to get in over your head, because you overestimate yourself, Sasuke added. Considering that I unlocked a new alien, I'd say that I'm doing pretty fantastic, Naruto told the two, with Amy nearly doing a spit take at this information. You have a new what now? Amy questioned in surprise. Yup. Found out about him on Sunday, when I was messing around with this. He's pretty cool looking too, Naruto told the two before taking a large gulp of lemonade. If you want I can show him off to you guys, Naruto asked them. I don't see why not, besides, it took you long enough to unlock one, Sasuke said while sipping his lemonade. Go for it, I gotta see this. Amy spoke in agreement with Sasuke. Alright, then. Get ready for the brand spankin' debut of the one and only Phantasma, Naruto said as he scrolled through his aliens and soon enough transformed in brilliant neon blue light. Once the light cleared, a 2 meters tall ghost-like creature appeared with powder blue skin and black cracks that sprawled across his body, with a quintet of dark sapphire-colored eyes on his face, while the Ultimatrix symbol lay across his sternum, combined with his mouth being constantly set in a constantly clenched grimace. Yet Phantasma had other monstrous features on his person, such as his skin tearing open to reveal 2-foot-long bone claws that could rend a mon's flesh open with ease, thorny white and icy blue tendrils tearing from it on his shoulders, upper and mid-back, and gnarled several-inch-long bone spurs on his elbows. In tandem with the fact that his first layer of torn skin hung off him like a tattered insane asylum patient's uniform, the ghastly tail that waved behind him, the manacles and chains around his wrists and neck, alongside his constantly unblinking eyes made for an incredibly chilling appearance. This is definitely going to haunt my nightmares. Just what even is that thing? Sasuke said, feeling his bones run glacially cold at looking at the sight of Phantasma. That's a fucking understatement. I don't know if I should be terrified or run and call an exorcist, probably both. Amy replied as she felt herself unable to look away from the sight of the ghastly alien. Here, I thought that Phantasma being able to scare people was just a fluke. Phantasma spoke. What did you do, Naruto? Sasuke asked the Ectonorite. I may have gotten bored, and decided to use my new ghost powers to scare the living hell out of people. In my defense, it was really funny. Phantasma answered back as their grimace turned into an incredibly sinister smile. Is that why my father has been hearing about complaints of people seeing a ghost roaming around the village? Sasuke questioned as Phantasma's smile only grew wider. To be fair, Sasuke, I really wanted to mess with Iruka and Mizuki-sensei for ages. It just so happened that I got an incredibly scary and golden opportunity to do just that. Phantasma replied with an insidious chuckle that sounded more akin to the demented wailing chortles of a madman. I would ask what kind of ghost stuff you can do, but at the same time, I'm too scared to even want to know, Amy said, still disturbed by Phantasma's otherworldly visage. Mizuki and Iruka-sensei found out some of the stuff I could do yesterday. Let's just say that they're afraid of the dark from now on, Phantasma told her with another small bout of spine-chilling laughter escaping his form. I don't even want to know what you showed them, that fucked them up that badly, Amy said as the implications were enough to greatly curb her curiosity. I think I speak for both myself and Amy when I ask that you turn back to normal. I'd rather not look at whatever this is, Sasuke replied, in disdain for the fact that Phantasma's form would be etched into his mind. Alright, fine. I think he's awesome by the way. Phantasma spoke before slamming down on the Ultimatrix and turning back to normal. Still feels weird when I transform back and forth, Naruto said with an involuntary shudder going through his body. At least this confirms our theory about there being more transformations in that device of yours, Sasuke remarked while Naruto sat back down. Now if only I could figure out a way to unlock more of these guys, because I really want to see what other cool stuff I can turn into. Maybe some cool giant monster that shoots death lasers, or some badass plant monster that can fuck people up with nature itself, Naruto said as he looked at the Ultimatrix and all of the nigh infinite possibilities of what he could eventually turn into. Focus on mastering what you have now, and then you can worry about unlocking more transformations. The last thing we need is for you to spread yourself thin, because of your excitement, Sasuke advised to the blonde. Fair point. I'm just stoked to know I can have all these super cool transformations at my disposal, Naruto replied in hardly contained excitement of unlocking Phantasma. Look at it this way. You're going to have all the opportunities to test out your aliens, now that you've made into root. Amy told him as Naruto once more smiled as Amy took a small drink of her lemonade. You're certainly right about that. So, cheers to my getting a new alien and passing my assessments, Naruto said. Sure. I see no problem why we shouldn't drink to that. Sasuke spoke. Well, you did knock it out of the park both times. So let's do it then. Here's to Naruto Uzumaki. Long may he reign. Amy said as they both raised their glasses and drank. Man, my life is looking awesome right now. I just hope I get even more kick-ass transformations, Naruto said to himself, as he and his companions spent the rest of the day drinking and dicking around. The next day, Konoha, July 6, 996 SE, 2, 10 petameters. It was the next day later as Naruto was visiting with his grandpa Dan, as the former of the two was in incredibly good spirits given recent events, and as such felt he should share in the good vibes with the retired Jonin. You seem to be in a pretty good mood, Naruto. What's the special occasion? Dan asked in seeing the rather elated blonde. I don't know how to explain it, but lately everything's been going my way. Hell, I haven't even had to bother with my family in months. Plus, I've got great friends I hang out with. So basically, everything's coming up awesome, Grandpa. Naruto answered back in good spirits. That is wonderful news, Naruto. I'm just glad you're doing all right, Dan said as the two continued to walk around the village. Although, I still have to wonder how Minato, or at the very least Kushina, hasn't noticed your absence, Dan added. You would think that those two would notice their own child gone from their own home. Dan thought to himself in finding such a thing rather odd. It's simple. I may not be great at ninjutsu or seals, but if there's one thing I am ace at, it's building machinery, well, that and my being really, really good at fighting, Naruto told the ghost of Konoha. So you built some contraption to make sure they wouldn't notice? Dan questioned, as Naruto gave him a thumbs up. Yep. One part audio system I have to tell them I'm gonna be out with Sasuke and the Uchihas, and one part super strong image projector that I made a while ago, that appears over a robot I made, which means that for now, I can pretty much get away with not having to see them, Naruto answered back. All courtesy of having Crabshocker and Tech Goblin to make all this cool shit for me, Naruto said to himself, thankful for the two aliens in particular. That's rather clever of you, Naruto. Here I thought I'd seen everything with how much the kids used to sneak out, Dan replied, as Naruto's explanation was by far the most complex he'd heard. There are a few hitches in it. There's the fact that since it's purely mechanical it doesn't have chakra that can be sensed. That's a pretty big problem when most of your family are sensor types. Then on top of that, if someone hits it with lightning jutsu then it could short out the projection, and then it's all downhill from there, Naruto said back. Honestly, if it weren't for the fact that my folks were so busy, my plan probably would have been found out a lot faster by now, Naruto added. Since even Naruto could fully admit to the fact that his plan to stall his family's notice of him being gone wasn't foolproof by a mile, as all it would take is one glitch or the use of his siblings or even his mother's sensory abilities, and he was more than likely screwed. To be fair, Naruto, what are you going to do once your secret has been found out? Because, whether you like it or not, it's going to be an absolute mess to deal with, Dan remarked. I know that. Besides, what can they do about it? I've already moved out, and got all my stuff settled in my new place. So if they want to raise hell about it, then by all means they can go right ahead, Naruto flippantly responded. Plus you'd think they would be fine with it. Especially, since they can devote more time towards preparing them for the worst of what's out there, Naruto said, albeit much more to himself. Well, if they do ask how everything went down, Tsunade and I will step in, and help handle things. We are your godparents after all, and it would look terrible on us, if we didn't come to your defense, Dan said back with a smile that only a father could show. I appreciate it a lot more than you think, Grandpa Dan. That reminds me, when will Misako get back? I heard she was out on some super cool mission, Naruto asked on the whereabouts of his cousin. It shouldn't be too long before she's back. I wouldn't put it past them to go over and above, just so she can get even more of a joyride out of it. Between Tsunade and I, she certainly takes after myself during my younger days, Dan answered back, with a mix of pride and slight worry towards his eldest child. Man, Misako is such a badass. I swear, she's in my top 10 of people I want to be like, once I get to be a Chunin, or Jonin. Naruto replied with stars in his eyes. I swear you two are too much alike sometimes. If it wasn't for the age difference, you two would have been the biggest terrors in all of Konoha, Dan remarked. And it would be awesome, granted, we'd probably make Dad have an ulcer, or 20. But it'd still be totally worth it, Naruto said with a malicious grin. Sometimes I don't know who would be worse, you or the twins, Dan wondered. It'd definitely be me. Because between all three of us, at least I'm not the one who's one hissy fit away from hulking out and screwing up a mission, Naruto replied. I honestly can't disagree with you. They may be being trained by Jiraiya and your parents. However, even I can recognize that the two of them will become easy pickings against people who know what they're doing. After all, Naruto, Konoha isn't the only village with Jinchuriki, Dan said in agreement with his godson. Oh, I know. Which is why, I'll be ready and then some, the moment I have to scrap with them, Naruto replied. I will definitely take your word for it. In the meantime, how about we get something to eat, my treat? Dan offered to the Ultimatrix wielder. Sounds great, Naruto replied as the two headed off towards the nearest restaurant. 5 days later, July 11, 996 SE, Route HQ, 3:45 petameters. The following week had come as Naruto and Sasuke were training at the Route HQ, with Amy working to counter the attacks of Crystal Fist. Sometimes, I truly forget how powerful your transformations are, Sasuke remarked as he had to once again dodge another crystalline fist that erupted from the ground. You ain't seen nothing yet. Check this shit out, Crystal Fist said back as he raised his fists into the air, and the ground soon began to shake and rumble. Sasuke had to once more dodge and leap out of the way as a quartet of crystalline dragons came bursting out of the ground, ready to tear him limb from limb and as such forcing the Uchiha to move swiftly and quickly with the use of his Sharingan. The dragons quickly racing towards him with great speed that chased after her like heat-seeking missiles, that curved and swerved at any angle possible to try and devour, tear him to bloody ribbons like a pack of rabid timberwolves. This continued onwards before Sasuke used a fire style to unleash a powerful gale force wind that had enough concussive force behind it to greatly crack apart half of the dragons, and in seeing this followed it up with a lightning style. Violet lightning that was able to destroy the dragons in their entirety. However, the crystal shards that once comprised them quickly flew and compressed together to form a massive glaive that dive-bombed towards her, with Amy having to leap out of the way or risk being impaled by the construct in question. Yet when Sasuke touched back down to see where the Ultimatrix wielder was, he had saw no trace of him around. Their eyes scanning every which way for where he could have possibly gone, everywhere except below, as soon enough a pair of familiar deep azure hands of Crystal Fist burst out of the ground to grab him by the waist, before subsequently power bombing them into the ground, where with another wave of Crystal Fist's hands he was wrapped up from the neck down in thick foot-long chains of crystal. So how's that for getting creative? Crystal Fist asked as Sasuke looked up at him. Not bad at all, although if you hadn't gone underground like a punk, I would have had you dead to rights with my fire jutsu, Sasuke answered back in seeing no use to struggle against the heavy-duty restraints. I know, but I'm not letting you get any of those off. I may not be a rocket scientist, but even I know it's a stupid call to let anyone get off hand signs for jutsu. That's why I've got plans on plans for that bullshit, Crystal Fist told her before waving his arms and causing the bindings to dissipate. Good to know for next time, Sasuke said while Crystal Fist transformed back to normal. I do have a question that I've been meaning to ask for some time, Sasuke asked. Shoot. Naruto replied, how come you never used any jutsu with that transformation, or any of your transformations? I couldn't even sense anything with my Sharingan, Sasuke inquired, having never seen him use a single jutsu or even use chakra for his attacks. That's because a while back, when I first started using them, I realized that they don't even have a chakra network, Naruto told her. Really? I figured that once you transformed into one of these aliens, that you would still retain your ability to utilize chakra, Sasuke said back in surprise at this information. Here's the thing you have to understand, Sasuke. When I turn into one of these guys, I'm turning into a completely different species, which as you've probably guessed, Whatever I turn into isn't gonna have what we have, because they didn't grow to have one. Hell, I'm pretty sure a good chunk of them would be incompatible with a chakra network to begin with. Naruto explained in his reasoning as to why none of his aliens had the ability to use chakra. Besides, it's not all bad. It just means that I can sneak up on sensors like my mom and the twins. They can't really sense something that doesn't have any chakra. Naruto added as a plus to his aliens' inability to use chakra. That is a pretty good way to look at it. It is rather strange to know you cannot use chakra whatsoever, while transformed. Sasuke remarked in seeing this as nothing short of an oddity. I don't. If anything, this is a plus for me. Let's say someone tries to slap a seal to shut off my chakra. All I gotta do is turn into Doomfire or Blindspot. Then from there, I get to fuck their shit up. Not to mention all of the sneak attacks I can pull off on top of it, so if anything, I can only see nothing but positives from not being able to use chakra when I transform. Naruto responded in seeing nothing but pros in that regard. I won't argue with you on that subject. I am just surprised to hear about this is all. Sasuke said back, as something without chakra was wholly new territory to him. Well, I think of it this way. We're gonna be able to come up with some dope maneuvers when we go on missions together. I mean, think about it, Sasuke. I can hit them while they don't see me coming, and you can come and clean house while I wreck shop, and vice versa. Naruto replied with a grin on his face. When you add in the additional weaponry you've been working on, I say we will be able to decimate most if not all of our enemies, that is if we play our cards right, Sasuke said. Between the advantage Naruto's aliens had at being unable to be tracked by sensors on two of the various gadgets and armaments he was building, Sasuke had to agree that the ever-expanding advantages they had thanks to the varied arsenal of the Ultimatrix wielder became ever more vast by the day. That's not to even mention that Lord Danzo said he'd set me up with a factory of my own, to fast-track more of my stuff. All I gotta do is get some worker drones and machines built, and he'll supply me with materials. Naruto told the Uchiha with a broad grin on his face. He agreed to give you a factory that quickly? Sasuke asked. Yep. When I mentioned that I could make some sick-ass gear for his root agents, he was fully on board for the idea of speeding this up. So before I know it, I'm gonna have my own factory that's gonna be getting started up soon. Naruto answered back, with contained elation in his voice. That's pretty great news. Do you know when this factory will be up and running? Sasuke inquired. Not until October. It's gonna take a pretty long while before everything is operational. But once it is, we're gonna get new gear pumped out with a quickness. Aw man, it's gonna be great. Naruto told the Uchiha with a grin that grew even wider at the thought of all of what could be built. But other than all that good stuff, how about we get back to training? We've got this place for another hour and a half, so we may as well use it, Naruto said to the Uchiha as he went to select another alien. I'm ready when you are, Naruto, Sasuke said back while Naruto transformed into Dash Raptor. How about we do some high-speed taijutsu training, Sasuke? I want to stress test how fast the Sharingan can keep up with me. Dash Raptor spoke as he got into a fighting stance. Then what are you waiting for, Naruto? Let's do this. Sasuke replied as his eyes once more turned the bloodshine red of the Sharingan, if you say so. Just don't get mad when I'm running circles around you. Dash Raptor said back before rushing after Sasuke at incredible speeds. At this rate, I'll have my Sharingan at full strength in no time, Sasuke said to himself as he ran as fast as he could to meet the Kinsellerin. Chapter end. Thank you for watching, guys.